you know, that this particular act is law, basically, you know. Go ahead.
In 1550, the Spanish King Charles called together all the leading theologians, and scholars in a council in Valladolid. The group was asked to determine the criteria by which a just war could be waged against Native Americans. Bartolomé de las Casas presented the ideal that Christianity should be spread by kindness and example rather than by the sword. Juan Guiñez de Sepulveda argued that Indians were brutes who should become the servants of civilized peoples. Spanish authorities suppressed the detailed defense of the humanity of Native Americans prepared by Las Casas, Sepulveda's ideals. No, Sepulveda's ideals were widely circulated and were used as justification for enslaving Indians.
So who in the Bible, who did it say was going to be slaves and servants to another man, especially Esau? Israelites.
Israel, yeah.
Go ahead.
The Spanish were not the only Europeans who were looking for slaves in the Americas during the 16th century. The Portuguese began capturing Beothukes in what is now Newfoundland in 1501. They exported what Gaspar Corte Real described as people with manners and gestures most gentle to Europe, where they sold as slaves. The Portuguese were not the only European slavers selling off the Canadian Maritimes. In 1507, Norman fishing vessels captured 7 Beothuks in Newfoundland and brought them back to France as slaves.
And these are just some of the records, not all of the records. There's so many records out there. That's why there's a document, it's on the BBC, where they show Native American Indian ancestry in England, you know, in that region. Why? Because you had Israelites that were brought over to that side of the world. That's why you have certain people over there that have ancestry of the so-called North American Indians, because they were brought over there as slaves. And it says slaves. It didn't say nothing about they just went over there by chance. You know,
Yeah.
They took a canoe and somehow found their way to England. Go ahead.
It says, in the 17th century, the English became active in North America. While the English were more focused on obtaining land for colonists, they also engaged in the slave trade in 1614. For example, English Captain Thomas Hunt captured 26 Wampanoag in what is now Massachusetts. The captives were taken to Spain, where they were sold as slaves. So basically they came here and they was taking Gadites and importing. It was a slave trade. Yep. It's always been about a slave trade, man. You see? And these so-called, don't let them fool you, man. They all were a part of this, man. Under what God? Because that's when they were being loosed for a little season. That's when they were coming back into power, taking down certain areas in Europe. So after they was taking down Judah, Benjamin, and Levi in Europe, they were coming over here to attack the other tribes that was over here, because it was well-known knowledge that the other tribes were over here. And then when they came over here, right, they were debating on different ways they were going to come at them and everything, which that's the so-called white man. The scriptures tell you about how the so-called white man, his words are smoother than butter, but war's in his heart. And basically when they captured the so-called Indian slaves, they would send them back over there to Europe, whether it was Spain, Portugal, as what? Gifts.
Yep.
Slaves.
Yeah, matter of fact, you said gifts.
That's what was going on.
Yep.
So that's history. They don't speak on that too much. I mean, they'll tell you a little bit about them coming over here, taking the land and everything, but they also were enslaving the Native American Indians. And the ones that went, because you had a lot of Gad and Reuben. Some of them wasn't going to be slaves, so they would kill them.
Yep. And
they did the same thing in the islands, and that's why they had to import slaves down in the islands, because when they were taking over down there, a lot of them, because that was they didn't want to be slaves. Here it is, they were going from being kings and that's their land to now they being made subjects or slaves. So a lot of them chose to die, or a lot of them fled into the mountains in different parts of those islands.
Yep.
I got
a quick fix it. No, girl, you got
and if you notice in those islands, like when such as like Puerto Rico and certain islands down there in Central America, a lot of the indigenous people are more so in the mountains, like a lot of the Tainos and Arawaks and stuff like that. a lot of them they fled in the mountains when they were being persecuted.
Right.
You know, a lot of them Hebados or whatever
Yeah,
you call
yeah.
them.
I mean, you still have, you know, Israelites among, you know, the cities and all that.
Yeah.
But they those are the ones that were mixed.
And that was forced to be slaves.
Right.
All right, those were the ones that they put slaves,
Yep.
made them slaves.
Right. Now the elder mentioned about.
And I'm sorry, brother.
Okay,
I'm sorry, brother. Right before you hit that, and another point, some of them was Judah. So a
Yeah.
lot of you guys on this Negro tip, a lot of them was down there with the Native American Indians.
Judah Benjamin Levi.
Judah Benjamin Levi were brought and put as slaves in South America,
Rico,
Puerto Rico, Brazil, the
Republic.
Dominican Republic. So what? Now those, what are they now? They Mamzas or whatever stupid shit you fucking.
Man, you dudes, man.
You guys don't know nothing, man. You don't know history. You don't know nothing, man.
You're stupid.
You're stupid, man. You just keep watching the shows
And learning.
and learning.
Because you're going to have to learn this anyway.
Yeah.
You're going to have to learn this anyway. Whether you like it or accept it or not, you're going to have to learn this.
You're
You're
gonna
going to
have
have
to
to sit
learn.
down and learn to swallow this stuff down because it's the truth.
That's
Ruth.
right.
All right, this is Revelation 11 and 10. It says, and they that dwell upon the earth, talking about the nations, shall rejoice over them. Over who? Over the Israelites.
Yeah.
It says, and make merry. And they made merry. When you go back to the book of Lamentations, the 2nd chapter, it said that the nations were clapping their hands when they found out that our people were brought down.
Yeah.
It says, and shall send gifts one to another. What are those gifts? Slaves.
Yeah.
It says, because these two prophets, meaning the two nations of Israel, which was Judah and Israel, tormented them that dwell on the earth, because they know that our forefathers put hell on them.
Wow.
Okay, so now when you jump to Revelation 18 and 10, 11, it says, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. Verse 13, and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls
Wow.
of men. Where's that talking about? Here in the Americas.
Yep.
So not only did they send slaves over to Europe, but they had slaves actually here. The encomienda, the repartimiento, and them different
Systems that were set up, yep.
right? The systems that were or decrees or orders that were set up, you know, to enslave the natives of this land.
Yep.
And these things have not been paid for yet. What does it say in the book of Numbers, the 33rd chapter,
Last verse.
about the 35th verse? You know, what does it say there about shedding the blood of men's shedding men's blood in the land? What does it say about that? Let's find out.
Got it. Nope.
Is it 35, 33, is it?
Is it 30? The last.
Yes, 35, 33.
Yep.
I had the wrong combination, but we got it.
You're right. Come. It says, this is Numbers chapter 35, verse 33. It says, so you shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it.
So if you shed blood, this land is polluted. Give me Isaiah 26. This land is polluted. I believe it's the 20th verse. This land is polluted. How has it been polluted? First and foremost by the blood of the people that was shed here. Okay, beginning with the North American Indians whose land it was, the so-called Indian tribes of the so-called South America, down in Central America and the Caribbean islands, and Judah, Benjamin, and Levi that were brought over here. So this land is totally polluted.